Hey folks, welcome back to the channel. So yeah, it's been a minute or two since I last posted something. I have a very good reason. I have a very good excuse. I went on holiday. I went to Bath. It was beautiful. It was lovely. I had such a good time. I felt so relaxed when I was there, and it was just so nice. And yeah, it was a much needed holiday. Um, whilst I was there, I did get to visit Mr. B's, which is the bookstore for this bookmark. Um, Mr. B's is they're just like my absolute favorite bookstore in the world. They're a little independent bookstore. They do one of my monthly subscriptions where you get a personalized book from them every month. And oh, it was so wonderful, guys. I had such a lovely time. So yeah, whilst I was there, I'd basically pre-booked myself what they call a reading spa, where you turn up, you sit down with a bibliotherapist, and you drink tea, and they give you a slice of cake, and you just chat books. You chat about what you're really enjoying, what you've maybe not enjoyed so much, what you want to be reading, if there's anything new you want to be reading, anything new you want to be exploring. We talked through like how I'd felt about some of the books I'd been getting in my subscription. And then Hannah, who was my bibliotherapist, recommended me a whole bunch of books. I think she came through with like a pile of like 20. I think I'd read 3 of them, so we managed to immediately discount those. And then they all sounded wonderful. These guys are absolute wizards. You give them like just the littlest amount of information and they will find a book you will like guaranteed. So yeah, we chatted about that. That lasted about an hour and a half, give or take. And then she sort of like left me alone with the books to decide which ones I wanted to purchase. My reading spa already came with vouchers. So I already had like £60 worth to spend on those that I'd already prepaid essentially. So yeah, just trying to like whittle down. I whittled it down from I think it was 16 books in total. I managed to whittle down to about 10. I'm still waiting on most of those books because the lovely people there did agree to post them to me because my luggage space was a backpack. Yay, EasyJet. But I did take one out of the store with me. And I read it within the next 2 days. So I thought, why don't we sit and chat about this? There's a very long introduction to this book review. I do appreciate that, but you're used to me rambling at this point, aren't you? So yeah, the book that they recommended me, one of the books they recommended me that I have already read and already finished and already loved is A Wizard's Guide to Defensive Baking by T. Kingfisher. This is, I'd say it's sort of like older middle grade, younger YA. It's sort of like on that borderliney bit. So it's a very easy, relatively simple story. It is set in this world where there are wizards, magic exists, and everyone's magic, not everyone has magic, only a few have magic, and those that do have magic, their magic is very individual to them. No two wizards can essentially do the same thing. So our main character, Mona, she's a 14-year-old, she's a baker, and her magic basically involves bringing dough to life. Right? How cute is that? It's really, really cute. So yeah, her familiar is a sourdough starter that was one of the first things she brought to life and maybe just brought it to life a bit too much. She has a second familiar, which is a gingerbread cookie man, who has a bit of a possessive streak. He's absolutely adorable, but yeah, he is a bit of a jealous. There's a really, really cute scene where it's not too much of a spoiler, but she's sort of like exploring her magic and like how far she can go with it, sort of like trying to like learn her limits, and she's brought these bunch of gingerbread men to life who are from a different batch from her original cookie. I keep pointing here because he rides on her shoulder all the time, so I just imagine him sitting on my shoulder right now. But yeah, she's brought them to life, and she's sort of like trying to figure out like can she give them orders from like across the room, or if she's upstairs, can she give them orders and how to control them and things? And then yeah, she comes back down and she finds him basically her original gingerbread man giving them orders and basically telling them to go kill themselves. He had them jump into something. I want to say he possibly had them jump into Bob. The sourdough starter is called Bob, who's mildly carnivorous, and it's just wonderful. Yeah, I really really enjoyed this read. I guess it took me like 2 days. It was a really quick, it's a really easy read. It's just so sweet and so simple when you need something that's just a little less intense. This book gives you all of the warm fuzzies, just all of the warm fuzzies. Mona's got sort of like two friends that we see a bit more of. We've got Spindle, who is like essentially a street urchin who's a little bit younger than she is, but he knows a lot more about life on the streets and evading the law. So he becomes almost a mentor figure to her, and they definitely have like this sibling relationship up here that is it's just so wonderful and so wholesome. And you know, you see them bickering a bit, and it's so well done. I really really enjoyed that. Another character we see is, oh gosh, what's her name? Her horse is called Nag. What's her name? I can't remember her name. 2 seconds. Molly. Knackering Molly. So Knackering Molly is, I apologize for how long that took. Knackering Molly is a wizard as well. She's also what they call a minor wizard, where their powers are relatively small, very very niche, can only do so much with them. Her ability, her power involves bringing dead horses, moving dead horses. So the horse is still dead, she's not brought it back to life, but it will clump about and be a horse, which is a little bit creepy. But yeah, it kind of worked. Yeah, the whole point of this book is, what's this book about? I haven't even told you what it's about. This is basically, it starts off with a dead girl is found in the bakery. That's not a spoiler. The first line is literally, there was a dead girl on the floor of the bakery, and it tells you that on the blurb. And yeah, it turns out that there is an assassin going about the city picking off wizards one by one. And that then sort of like proceeds. We kind of figure out who that is, sort of get that sorted out. And then it kind of escalates into a siege on the city, because it's all part of this plot by one of the nobles to try and take over the kingdom, the city. But of course the army's off fighting invading mercenaries right now, so it's basically up to Mona and her friends and her family to rescue the city via baked goods. That's the only way to really describe it. It is really cute, it's really lovely. I mean, the characters are definitely the heart of the book. That's why I've spent most of my time telling you about those. Oh gosh, what else should I tell you about this? I mean, I'm not necessarily going to say it's universally going to be appealing to everybody, but I think I do think most people would like that, especially if you like YA fantasy. If you're a little sick of YA fantasy romance, but you just want some of the fantasy, because there's no romance in this book whatsoever. This is just really wholesome. The relationships we've got, they're so wholesome. So Mona's parents they're both dead. They've been dead. We never meet them. They died years ago. So she's been raised by her aunt and her uncle, and seeing the interactions between her aunt and her uncle, the interactions between her and her aunt, they're lovely. She definitely is not being raised by stereotypical bad relatives. There's definitely a really healthy dynamic in there. And guys, I really really enjoyed this book. It definitely, like I've said, it gives you all of the warm fuzzies. So yeah, I think everyone should go read this. I think I gave it about 4 stars in the end, because it didn't completely blow me away, and there was maybe, by the end I kind of maybe wanted a wee bit more, She has, the way she's ended it, you could read it as a standalone, but she has given herself space to create more within this world. Definitely with Mona. So I'd be curious to see if she does bring anything out. I have had a very brief look on the internet and I've not seen anything. I've not seen any murmurs, but I do know it took her a while to get this one published. So it might be a while. Yeah, it is self-published. From what Hannah at Mr. Beast was telling me, it was picked up by a few publishers, but they all wanted to make some quite significant changes. They either wanted to make it darker and make it adult, or make it lighter and make it middle grade, and they never, like, it's one of these books where I can't understand. They didn't really know how to market it, because yeah, it reads like young YA. Not quite middle grade, but almost. Like, it does read young. But then we've got dead horses coming to life, and it's, at times it is quite dark. I mean, we're talking about a potentially, well, he's definitely carnivorous and potentially cannibalistic, depending on how you look at it, Sourdough. So yeah, I can understand there are some relatively dark elements in this, but for the most part it is really light and fluffy. Because even the dark elements are almost made fluffy. I don't think it needs to come with any trigger warnings or anything like that. It's definitely not those levels of dark. It's just, yeah, if you want to go and read something really cute and fluffy and just chuckle away and be like, holy crap, who knew baked goods could be so cute? Then Wizard's Guide to Defensive Baking. I mean, just look at that angry gingerbread man. Do you not want to read about the angry gingerbread man? He makes an excellent general. I'm just saying. He makes a very good general. So yeah, this is it. Anyway, I am going to wrap this up here. It's a relatively short review for me, which is probably a good thing. And I think I might go and make some gingerbread. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!